All right. Can you guys hear me now? Or not? Is that better? Oh, we got it? Oh, sweet. Thank goodness. Whew. All right. Awesome. Well, let's get into it. Oh, yeah. So I'll do my intro again, seeing as you guys couldn't hear it. So welcome to another Game Dev live stream. Today I'm going to be doing some more UI stuff in Unreal. I've made a bit of progress since the last stream, mostly just cleaning up stuff in the back end, and it should hopefully look a lot more organized. As always, I've got my phone here to view the chat window because I've only got one screen. So yeah, until I sort that out and stop being lazy and go out and get another screen set up, then I'll just be looking down at my phone here. So anyway, what do I have today? Well, there's quite a few more settings since last time. For those that are joining for the first time, welcome. I'm Raymond, the developer for Project Feline. And at the moment, I have my game prototype. Unfortunately, the entire game doesn't quite work yet at the current state, as in the main mechanic, which is the wall run, is currently inoperable, which is, it's okay. I'm sure I'll find a fix for it soon. But, yeah, at the moment, though, I've been doing a lot of UI work for the game, and mostly in this particular area of the settings, because I want this to be like I want this project to be like a proper PC experience, with the right settings, custom keybinds, volume settings, video settings, graphic settings, all that. I believe that's always an important part in the game to have in, and, as someone who does a lot of graphic design, it's something I wanted to get out of the way as soon as possible. So at the moment, we've got these settings, and I think in the last stream I had made the first two, and I have now gone ahead and made the rest of them. We still got a way to go, though, but I just thought I'd make some progress today. So to demonstrate how this all works, I'm going to show you some of these settings. So we can change the display mode. So I can go and change this to like windowed full screen, for example, and it'll maximize the game. I can go back to windowed if I want as well. I can also change the resolution and the aspect ratio, so I can make that really square shaped, or I can make it bigger, or I can make it, something else. So I have a lot of options here to work with. We also have a setting that it took me forever to figure this one out, but I got brightness finally. So I can go ahead and change this brightness slider and turn that up and press apply, and then it'll kind of just make the entire engine windows a bit brighter. But if I were to build this as a standalone project, it would just do it for the game, which is good. I can also turn it all the way down, and I get a range between 0.5 and 5. So I'm going to set it back to the default, which is 2.2. Click apply. We also have HDR support, which won't work on my monitor, but if you have an HDR screen, this option should be enabled. We have VSync. We have a frame rate limit, which I'm kind of figuring out still. This was working. It isn't at the moment, but we'll figure that out at some point. Field of view is set up, but it's not working yet. But I have it. Well, there's some things I want to do with that I'll explain later. And then, of course, the bread and butter of it all is the graphics menu, which you can customize. So you can go ahead and change the resolution scale. I'm going to go ahead and turn these all to low, just so you see what happens. And if you're observant, you'll also notice we have a motion blur setting, because I know that like half the people that are going to play this might like motion blur, the other half might not. I'm kind of on the fence. For me, it depends on when I want motion blur. If it's a single-player campaign experience, I'll tend to have it on because it just feels more cinematic. But if it's a multiplayer game, like Apex Legends or something, I'll tend to have it off for, functionality purposes, because it can kind of get in the way. So I thought I have that as a setting now. So I'll go ahead and turn all of them off and everything to low. Click apply. It'll take a while. And then when we go and hit continue, you can see it looks like crap at the moment. So we have the pixelated image, no real-time shadows, no motion blur, no image effects, no post-processing, no nothing. But if I go back to my menu and change all these back to very high, and I'll keep motion blur off just so you can see all this in practice. I'll go ahead and click apply, go back, and you can see looks a bit better. We've got our shadows back, we've got our post-processing back, so the camera will now auto-adjust in the lighting and all that stuff, so that's great. I haven't changed the resolution scale, so I'll go ahead and do that. because I have this little option. So I'll go ahead and crank that up to 100%. And now it looks really sharp, which is great. Anti-aliasing is on and everything. And then, of course, if you want to be more cinematic with it, you can go ahead and turn on motion blur. And it applies a bit of motion blur to the camera. So that's sort of what I've been working on for the past couple of weeks. But in its form at the moment, it may seem pretty simple, but it actually took me a long time to figure out how to do it this particular way. And I want to show you a little bit of the stuff that I was working on. And some of this I'd done in the last live stream as well. But yeah, I'll go ahead and show you some of these. So in this folder, we have a core folder, which is sort of... I did a lot of folder restructuring a few weeks ago. We have a few of these. We have a core one called Engine. And here are some core settings things that it will need for it all to work. And one of these things is a few enums. So being able to choose the display mode. So you can see I have all my options there. We also have an enum for field of view scaling mode, which I'll get into later. And a frame rate limit mode. And then these are all used by an asset called BP Save Settings. If you open this up, you can see over to this side panel, there's a bunch of options that look identical to the ones in our settings menu. And what this is an asset that kind of establishes those settings and saves them to a file. And how it works is, I've got all these variables that I've just punched in. If I open up this, for those who are familiar with Unreal, here are the variables off to the left. And I've made all of these, and some of them use those custom enums I just showed you. Some of these are just floats, some of them are ints, some of them are booleans. And basically, this is where we establish what settings are saved for the game. And in this case, it's the graphical settings and the audio settings. And we have some input settings here too, actually, which I haven't gotten around to putting into the actual menu yet. But you can see we can select keybinds. If you go over here and look, we have a move forward bind mapped to W, move backward mapped to S, and all that. Getting that to work, though, I haven't gotten around to yet. But we have the variables there, which is a start. The one thing I want to focus on today will be mostly things in the graphical and audio categories. I haven't quite decided which I'm going to do, but maybe audio, because I've worked on graphical for quite a while. And then up to top here, we've got all the display settings. So the display mode, gamma, HDR, VSync, frame rate, all that stuff. So this object is like a save game object. And Unreal has this cool system called Save Game, which lets you do all this, which is really great. So I have just a Save Game option with these settings. And then what each of these settings will do is read to that file, or it'll read from it or write to it, depending on what's set in the option. So if I open up one of those, if I go into UI, settings, here are all the different settings. Now, this is probably, for those that have watched the stream from a few weeks ago, it may look a little different from what you remember. Because in my very first draft of this menu, it looked something like this. And it's got a few more categories set up. This was like my old one, and it looks more or less the same, right? But if you go and look at the graph, you look at this one and it's like, okay, there's some stuff going on. But then you go into the tabs and it's like, okay, there's some more. That one's just empty. And then, whoa, there's a lot going on here. And then, whoa, there's a lot going on here. And then, oh my god, this is the messiest stuff I've ever seen. What is going on? So this was my old blueprint for the settings menu. And the reason I'm doing it a new way, because this was just a complete mess. And basically, this one blueprint had the entire thing was sort of keeping track of all the settings. So this one blueprint will go into each slider. So it will go into like the display mode, tell it what to do, go into the resolution drop down and populate it, and then go to the graphics options and all that stuff. And it was all in one place. And it's not good to do things that way for a lot of reasons. And I kind of didn't foresee that when I started making it. I just started developing it. But after a bit of foresight or afterthought, I just kind of went, there's got to be a better way. So I found a better way. And that is, instead of making all this in one place, I've turned each one of these little settings you see into their own self-contained modules that will read and write to the file and do their own thing. So each of these settings you see here, so display mode, resolution, each of them now exists as a blueprint in this folder. And you can see how I've named them. I've got the anti-aliasing setting, I've got the display mode setting, the resolution setting, and all that. I'll open up the VSync setting because that's a pretty simple one. And this is how it looks. So each one of the settings you see is just a self-contained option that has all the functionality in it without touching anything else, without interfering with the rest of the game. And it's so that what you could do with it basically is just drag and drop it into any menu and it'll work. And it sounds like a Todd Howard quote here, but trust me, it all just sort of works, which is really brilliant. So if I open up to the graph editor, this is sort of how it works, right? So I'm using, for those who aren't familiar, I'm using what's called a blueprint interface to do all this. So a blueprint interface basically means you have you make an interface, and I'll show you my one actually. If we open up wherever it is, I think it might be in core. Yeah. So I have this blueprint settings interface, and it basically is a thing that lets you put functions in, right? And I have two functions called load and apply. Now the cool thing about an interface is that you might say, well, these functions are blank. What the hell are they supposed to do? And what'll happen is these are basically functions that tell, hey, anything that integrates this interface has the capability to do these two things. And the cool thing about interfaces is that if an object uses an interface, you can call it and it can receive it. And so how that works is if I go over to my this is my new settings menu, by the way, and these are all the self-contained settings. And the only graph stuff in this new menu is just this. And it's just so much simpler than the last one. And all it does is that it looks through all the children of the menu and tells it, hey, if it's visible, so if it's currently being shown and if it's valid and all that, then do an interface call to apply. And because each of those settings uses that interface, it will know when it's called. And it'll say, okay, we've been told to apply. And then each setting will have its own thing to do. And that's what this is doing. So this function, you see that little cog up there, or this little, whatever that blue icon is, that's an interface event. So it says, hey, this other blueprint told us to load. And when it does that, it goes through and does its vsync thing. So it'll read the saved value of vsync and apply it to the dropdown, and then actually enable vsync in the engine and all that. And then the same for applying the setting. So if you change it and click apply, it'll go through this check. It'll cast to the save game, save that setting to the file, and then apply it to the engine. And that's basically the gist of every single setting. It's just each one will do something slightly different depending on what it is. So anti-aliasing might, instead of doing vsync enabled, it'll set anti-aliasing enabled. And that's basically it. So what that means is you can literally just drag and drop these into your menu, and when you click apply, it'll only apply the ones that are actually there, and so on. So for example, if I wanted to make a different settings menu, because I've got where is it? Because I've got this one which has every setting in it, and this, you might want to put this maybe on the main menu, I'm guessing. But let's say, for example, because a lot of games do this, well, they'll have like a stripped down version of the settings menu on the pause menu, like a quick settings menu. And if you wanted to do that with this system, you can. It's very simple. You just make another one of these menus and drag in the settings you want, and it'll just work. In the old system, though, it wasn't possible because it was all hard-coded into that blueprint. So if you wanted to make another settings menu, you have to copy and paste all that code and then go into the nodes and manually remove the ones you didn't want. And it just doesn't sound fun. And I just didn't want to do it that way because I know there'd be a better way to go about doing it. So this is my solution. Now, I hopefully I've explained that well. I usually don't get a chance to talk about it because I'm just here working on it alone. But the idea is later when it's most of it's finished. I just need to the method and design is all done. I just need to add the actual settings. But the idea is once that's done, I want to be able to take this system and put it in any game I end up developing ever in this engine. And I think that's a good approach because like doing a settings menu is actually pretty hard because I've spent a few weeks on this. It's actually is pretty difficult to get right. Especially when you're learning it for the first time. And I thought, hey, you know, it'd be great if I only had to do this once and then maybe make some updates later down the road. But the core functionality itself, just being there and being portable in a sense, so that each setting has its own package stuff that it knows what to do and it doesn't have to interfere with anything else, and it just all works. And I can just take it to another project if I end up, I don't know, like let's say, for example's sake, something happens to this game, I am not able to work on it, maybe I go work on something else, and I can just take this menu with me. Not saying that'll happen, but just in case, you know. Or maybe I finish it, and the game I do after that, maybe I want this menu as well, and I put it in. Now, a lot of you may be wondering, it's like, okay, you can take the menu and stuff, but what happens if you want to change how it looks, right? Because it doesn't look that great, really. Like, I'm using a lot of the default sprites for a lot of this, and I'm aware of that, and I plan to design around that as well. So what I can do, all of these widgets, each and every one, so down to these little boxes with text, along with the drop downs, the sliders, the scroll bars, the buttons down here, the header, everything. It's all I've all made them as user widgets. So these are all actually widgets I've made based on the existing widgets that Unreal gives you. So this drop-down isn't the default drop-down. This is a user-made drop-down using Unreal's one. And the only difference is that I can customize its style and it's all stored in a variable. Meaning, if I wanted to change the sprite for this drop-down, give it a different color, give it a different arrow, give it a different font, I can. And not only will it just change, but it'll change for every drop down, so it's all consistent. So yeah, it's quite a lot to unpack there with all that, and that's why it's been taking me so long to get it up and running. But the idea is, once it's done, I can just package it off. I might even put it up on the marketplace if people find it helpful. And then I want to make it just easy to customize. So if you want to add a new skin, put different fonts on it, put different sprites on it, it'll be super easy. And you can do it all without having to actually touch the functionality. Because that stuff, you want to just get it done and not have to touch it. Because I've done a lot of UI stuff in the past, mostly in Unity, where I would make a full-on menu and it'd be perfect, great. But then I didn't like how it looked in 6 months, and I went and changed it, and it was just a mess. So I wanted to avoid all that, and here we have the current result. So we're going to get into the actual work now. I know I spent a while explaining what it is, but for the new viewers, I thought it'd be cool to just share what I'm actually working on at the moment. So I'm just going to quickly check the chat window, see what you guys reckon, if you have any questions or anything like that. Cool. Let's have a look what you guys got to say. Yeah, I'm just reading Blue's comment about all games need good settings to be really timeless. I agree, and I'll tell you one thing that annoys me. I don't know if anyone here played like Morrowind or any old game from like the early 2000s. Like anything past like before 2005, I find, where they do with, I don't know why, but all of them have this weird thing in the settings where they've hard-coded in the resolutions in the drop-down. Meaning, if if you're running it at a 1080p monitor or a 4K monitor, the actual drop-down, because this 1024 by 768, because that was the standard resolution at the time, that was the highest it could go to. And usually the way to fix it is to install mods, right? And that just doesn't sound fun, especially when it's so easy to just return the supported resolutions, because Unreal has that function where it just returns. So this whole list I've got is automatically populated depending on the graphics device, meaning if you take this game 20 years in the future and run it on some other graphics card, if it uses DirectX, at least in theory it should still work. Or because I don't know, this API's, I'm not sure exactly, because I mean, well, yeah, because I know some games age, like games made for Windows XP and all that won't work nowadays. But in theory, if you were to run this on a high-tech new monitor that was like 12K, you could, and this drop-down would populate all that. So yeah, I try to be smart with it because I hate games that just have it locked at a low resolution. It's horrible. So yeah, so for console players, it may not be much of a big deal. However, the good thing about because one thing I'd like to do with this game is maybe launch it on consoles if I can. That'd be really great because I grew up with consoles, and that'd just be an awesome dream. So not a definite thing, but it's a dream that I'd like to try. And the idea is if I do launch this for consoles, this will be really easy too, because some consoles, all consoles have a brightness setting at least, and they all have volume settings too, I find, and subtitle settings, and maybe some colorblind settings. They all have those sorts of things. And I want to be able to make the settings menus that include all of that stuff. And then if I want to deploy it to a different platform, like let's say I had this menu and I went to deploy it on PS4, all I'd have to do is just untick the display settings and a few of the frame rate settings and the graphics settings. I just hide those and then deploy it to the console, and it'll just show you the relevant settings. Or you could, if you wanted to be even more advanced, I think there's actually a function that lets you check what device that the game's running on, and it can smartly disable certain settings if it's on console. So that's an idea that I might go with. But yeah, in most cases, all of these advanced settings here, like graphics quality, this is mostly for PC stuff, because a PS4 is going to be mostly consistent with performance, but people's PCs vary. Like, my laptop, which I have, I've had for a few years, it couldn't run this game at very high, but my desktop can, and I want to be able to. Well, the thing is, when I would develop this on my laptop, I would go into the editor, I would go into the actual editor settings up here and change the quality when I was working on it on my laptop. But you can't, the users can't do that, right? So I thought, hey, that'd be a good idea, because then more people get to play the prototype, even if they have a potato computer. So that's always good. So yeah, I'll just take a few more questions and we'll get into it. Cool. Oh, cool. I guess because I did live streaming at a bit of a different time of day today, so I'm glad for the guys who could make it that normally don't, because I thought, yeah, I'm in Australia, by the way, for those who don't know. And yeah, it's I'm kind of on the other side of the planet, so it's sort of hard to sync up the time zones and all that. But yeah, I thought I had a bit of time today, so I thought I'd just chuck on the stream and see how we do. Cool. Well, yeah, thanks all for joining. Let's get into some dev. I have a few tunes I'm gonna pump throughout the stream, just some nice elevator music, if you will. So yeah, let me think. So what I want to do today is make a bit of progress on this. There's a few things that are popping up. Actually, I might as well open my. Well, I have my Trello board here with some. Yeah, I'm very overdue for this. This took a lot longer than I thought. But the idea is, well, yeah, I have to update this tick box a bit, because not all of these are fully functional. But I have some other settings I'd like to put in, like audio settings. So the master volume, effects volume, dialogue volume, music volume, all that. There's also input settings, which will be a bit complex. This might be, wait, when did I have this due? So I might do that next week. But as for today, because there's one thing I'm having with my settings problem. Well, in the video settings, there's one little problem, and that's this graphical quality setting. So most games on PC have this sort of thing where they have an overall graphics settings and then subcategories depending on if you want to customize it. So the idea is you want to click on one of these, like in the graphics quality, and you can kind of tell because I've tried to indent them off to the side a bit. And what this graphical quality dropdown should do is change all of these to whatever I set this to, except if I click custom, it should just do some custom value. This used to work on my old one, but I haven't got it working in my new one yet, and I'm trying to think of ways to get it to work. And I had an idea, but I'm not sure if I should do this later or just solve it now. I mean, what the hell? We should probably just do it. All right. So here's what I was thinking. Where's my settings? Because this particular setting, graphics quality, because I very much doubt this setting will appear without the rest of these, what I'm going to do is I'm going to group all of those graphics options into one widget, and I'm going to have like a little event graph that will check when this one gets changed and then change the rest of them and all that. So we're going to give that a go. So I think I do have one for that already. So I have this, that's brightness. Where's graphics? Graphics, where are you? Gamma. Oh, overall scalability, that's what I called it. So this is the setting. What I'm gonna do to this one is add in the subcategories to this one, instead of putting them, because at the moment they're all just there individually in the menu, and I kind of thought, hey, that doesn't make much sense because they're all kind of grouped, they're all part of this one setting, so maybe I should just have that as one thing. So, and yeah, you likely wouldn't use these independently, so I'm gonna go ahead and remove all of these from the yeah, so I'm gonna delete all of them, and that should kind of, I'm gonna do the same with the frame rate limit too later on, but we'll start with graphics. But yeah, oh yeah, hey everyone. I know it's a bit I have no idea what time it is on wherever you guys are watching. I'd imagine most of you are in North America, so it might be a bit late at night, but usually I tend to stream around that time in Australia time. But yeah, I'm just trying out streaming this time of day and seeing how many people show up. But yeah, glad you can join us. That's really great. To answer your question, MC Bros, yes. So the settings themselves, most of them are built into Unreal. Not all of them. And that's where things, that's something I had to design this whole system around. And that's why I'm using a save game system for some of the other settings. So things like display mode and resolution, there are functions in Unreal that will tell it to do that sort of thing. So if I go to my display resolution setting, you can see there's actually a function, and a lot of this, I'm using this thing called game user settings. Now this covers most settings, but not all of them. And there's a function called set screen resolution, and it's basically calling that, but it's also setting the drop-down value as well and saving it to a file external from the user settings. And there's a few reasons I do that, but we'll get into that another time maybe. But yeah, for example, gamma is not a game user setting. Gamma was frustrating, or brightness. It was really frustrating because there's a console command to set the brightness, but there's no variable to read it from. And that was a bit of a headache, so I had to make my own variable, and it's a little weird, but that's one case where I didn't have a inbuilt function for brightness. Same goes with the frame rate limit, or parts of the frame rate limit, and the field of view, which I'm still working on getting working. But most of the graphics options are built in, so the only problem I see though, there's a lot of people on YouTube that go through those settings in a tutorial, kind of just show you how to drag and drop them in, but they don't. I like making systems as reusable as possible, because a lot of the stuff I see is very one-case scenario usage, and it's a methodology I don't agree with always. So I've just gone and built my own one. Thank goodness that Unreal has documentation. Otherwise, this would have been a lot harder. But yeah. So if this all doesn't make sense, that's okay. Like, you'll just see me working on stuff mostly, and maybe you'll kind of get going. So anyway, graphics quality. Let's add a few of these settings. So I'm going to align them with a vertical box. So I'm going to wrap with vertical box, so it all lists out like that. If I can find it. Okay, cool. So I'm going to add all my other settings. So here's the cool thing too. Remember how I said drag and drop? I'm literally going to show you that, and it's going to be beautiful. So if I scroll down here, see all these widget blueprint settings? So hey look, there's my anti-aliasing setting, there's my display setting, there's my display mode setting, there's DPI setting, which doesn't work yet, but it's there. Effects settings, look at all that. So I'm going to go and drag some of these in. And well, look at that, I just dragged and dropped the option in. And if I run it in the settings menu, it'll work. It'll save and load and all that. What other settings do I need? I gotta check my checklist. So I need anti-aliasing. Oh, view distance. Where's view distance? Here it is. So view distance, anti-aliasing, resolution scale. So I'll drag this in. And like, look how cool this is, guys. Like this, it's just so fun for me to do. Like, it's literally like, it's almost as easy as using Scratch, I think, because you just drag and drop the settings in and they just show up. What else do we need? Post-processing. Motion blur. Boom. Shadow quality. And imagine if you had all this in a package that you can just import and export into your other games. I think that'd be great. Because one thing I hate, I don't know if anyone used Unity before in the chat. I used Unity for a long time. I think oh god, I started using Unity maybe 8 or 9 years ago, back when it was like Unity 3. And that was before they even had the canvas system, so that was a long time ago. But I built a lot of these sorts of menus in Unity, and one thing that would always frustrate me is when I would go play other people's games that have that pop-up. You know when you launch a Unity game and it has that little dialogue that comes up at the start where you set the resolution and graphics? Like, because what goes through my head when I see that is, oh, this is a Unity game, and it kind of takes away from the illusion. Most people don't care, but as a developer, I notice, and I really don't, because it's you know, you can easily get around that. So to me, it's like, oh, you didn't even make a settings menu for your game, because you don't see AAA games with that, and it's like, it's just a little detail that I notice, and it's like, I don't want people thinking that of my game when they launch it. Like, they launch it, and it's like, oh, this is an Unreal Engine game, even though it is. Like, in a good way, they think it's an Unreal Engine game, but not like oh, this is just some kid, you know, messing around in the engine, using the default fonts and default everything sort of thing. It's like in a Unity game where they don't change the skybox and it's just the default skybox. It's like on par with that in my experience. So yeah, I pay hyper attention to those things. I don't know if I'm just weird, but that's just how I roll. So yeah, for me, those little details are very important, because if there's anything that takes away from that illusion that it's a experience and it's a game, then yeah, it's just kind of loses it. It's like when you open a PowerPoint and they just have Calibri and they haven't changed the font. Like, I notice those things, and if I notice it, my head goes, okay, this person didn't put in effort to changing anything, and it kind of undermines the underlying content, I find. There's probably a small minority of people that think that, but I happen to be in that group, I suppose. So that's why it matters. I think I've got all the settings here. Let me just double check the list. If I'm missing anything. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Yeah, okay, we got them all, I think. So yeah, so what's going to happen here is I want to be able to go to my top option, the graphics quality, set that to something, and it'll automatically fill the rest of them into the right preset. I have some blueprints for it already from an old menu, which I'm going to be importing in here and changing a bit. So yeah, let's see how we go. Now, what we'll need to do is I'm going to need to open that graph editor. Let's just see what you guys have to say in the chat. Yeah. All right. So yeah, for the guys that normally watch, yeah, I'm just trying out a new stream schedule, I suppose. So if it's late at night, I apologize. I just happened to be awake and I thought to try it. I'll see how many people show up for it. So at the moment we've got 10 people, so that's pretty okay. But yeah, I gotta find a better time to stream, because normally I think that, I don't know if my normal time, like, because I usually stream in the evenings for me, I don't know if that's how convenient that is, because I think most people say that they're in school, so that kind of sucks. But yeah, just trying out stuff, I guess. Alright, what am I doing? I need my old menu. Where is that? Settings. It's in menus. So this is my old one. I had a bit of functionality for this already, which I'm going to be copying. It's a little messy, but maybe we'll clean it up a bit. So let's have a read through this. So what this is supposed to do, it gets the graphical drop down, and it gets its, you know what, I'll just copy and paste it and we'll figure it out when we put it in. So yeah, let's just copy all this in. And let me just reorder these tabs. All right, so this is the drop down for graphics quality. So I'm just gonna go and paste this here. And we have a, okay, so cool part is we have a few functions. So on selection changed, that's what we want. Because what's gonna do is when we change the drop down, So if you click on it and change the option from low to high, we want it to then update the rest of these settings. So that's an event that exists, which I had to put in. And when it does do that, so when event changes, I'm just going to plug this in and read it out to you guys and see if there's any errors here. We need to change this reference because that's outdated. We need the combo box. Plug that in. So it's going to check the actual combo box when the selection's changed. And it's going to check if the selected option is in between 0 and 3. And if it is, and the reason I choose 1 and 3 is because that's the index of graphical qualities there are. And I'll show you what I mean. Well, I'll show you on the default settings, right? You see how in this quality menu, they have low, medium, high, epic? Now, in an index, this is called option 0, 1, 2, 3. So basically, it's going to check if it's in that range of these preset configurations. And if it's not, so if it's one extra, that means it's a custom preset, which will be like, for example, ultra high texture quality, but ultra low shadows, for example. So at the moment, it does a check if it's in between these, and 0, 1, 2, yeah. And if it is, it'll do a loop. It'll go through each of these and set it to the actual index. So basically, if I set the graphics quality to option 1, it'll set all of them to option 1, which is what we want. But if it's option 4, and I'll show you what the dropdown looks like. Oh no, it won't show up there. Well, in this part of the code, I tell it, hey, go and populate this with 4 options. Or at least I thought I did that. Maybe it doesn't. Huh, maybe I forgot to do it. Because there should be another custom option. And if it's set to custom, that's index 4. And if it's at index 4, this is well, if this is what the false will do, and it'll just do nothing, which is what we want. Also, yeah, so it'll change those dropdowns, and when it's done doing that, it'll check the actual resolution slider and change that accordingly as well. So, I mean, it should just work, hopefully. Oh wait, I gotta replace these references, so maybe not. Hold on. Maybe this won't work. Can I plug that in? Oh no. Maybe I have to do a cast. Oh no, that won't work. Drop down. Because the problem is, each of these settings isn't a drop down, it's its own thing, but they have a drop down in it. So I want to try and get the drop down inside each of these. I might have to make it a variable from the looks of it. So, I don't know. That's something I didn't anticipate there. I'm just gonna check the chat quickly. If you guys have any comments on what I'm doing. Yeah, to respond to Blue's comment on self-sufficiency, I totally agree. The weird thing is I never studied programming. I did an arts course a few years back, doing 3D modeling and animation. So it took me, one of the reasons this has taken me a while is because I was never really taught the principles of programming. I just kind of taught myself just from YouTube tutorials since I was like 11. So luckily I've managed to figure out some of the coding principles and how damn important they are, but it's hard to find, you know. I don't come across a lot of tutorials for Unity or Unreal that really talk about those things, and I'm not sure why, but it's important. So yeah, thank goodness I figured some of them out, but there's probably heaps more I don't even know. Yeah, so some other comments as well. Misdirection, that's a great point. A lot of people might wonder, it's like, why aren't you focusing on the gameplay at the moment? And yeah, that's a fair criticism. One of the reasons is mainly because I don't want to have to make this later. Because to me, I wasn't expecting it to take this long, firstly. So I was expecting to get it done in a week and then move back to gameplay. Unfortunately, it's taken a bit longer. However, I'm learning an incredible amount. Not about UI necessarily, but about systems design. For example, learning how to make these self-contained things, and I think knowing that will be a lot more helpful when I get over to the gameplay stuff. As for the gameplay, I've had a lot of ideas building up over the past few months, and I think I've through doing all this, it's given the ideas a lot of time to settle and ferment and to flesh themselves out in my head. So hopefully when I do get back to the gameplay, which will be very soon, I hope, like I'm trying to work on this every day. I'm planning to get all this stuff done within the next week, because I've got most of the back-end stuff finally sorted out. So that's my optimistic guess, but who knows, maybe it might take a little longer. But once that's done, it's back to gameplay, and hopefully there's only a few more changes, because there's only one thing I really want to put in, or actually two things I want to put in. One of them is changing the wall run. Well, first we'll be fixing it, because it doesn't work at the moment, and the actual math is fine, it's just the cast that it checks for walls isn't calling, and it might just be a weird engine thing, so I'm going to look into it. But apart from that, I want to make some fundamental changes to the wall run and making it work a little differently. It'll feel more or less the same in terms of its mathematics and all that behind it, but things like making it a bit more fun to do, because you kind of just stay on the wall forever and that gets a little boring. So I've had a lot of time to think about how I'm going to mix things up and make it exciting, and it's frustrating because I really want to share it, but it's like I want to get the stuff out of the way and then it's going to be back to it. So yeah, I'd imagine, depending on the person, someone else in my position might ditch this and go back to the gameplay, which is totally fine. But yeah, I don't know, I kind of just want to get this done, out of the way, because then it'll also mean when I do get to the gameplay, it'll also be a lot easier to access, because people with, school computers or like a Windows Surface will be able to play the game as well without suffering from a frame rate loss. And they'll also be able to do a bunch of other things that you couldn't do in the last version, like level select, keeping a better leaderboard system, because a lot of you guys were doing cool speedrun things, and I just want to improve the experience on that end. But then on top of that, yeah, the gameplay stuff will also be a priority. The good thing is, that's about all I have planned, plus something to do with weapons, because a lot of you guys want weapons. I have an idea actually on what I'll do. I'm going to try it out, but we'll see. And then once I figure that out, then the prototype is done, and then I'm going to just be going into the character art department and making a lot of animations, and then I'll be doing some level stuff and environments, and then after about a while of that, the game should be done. So yeah, again, this is my first real proper attempt at all this, so I know I might make some scheduling mistakes, I might make some priority mistakes. I'm gonna accept those. I don't think I'm gonna do this perfectly, but that's okay. I just want to do it instead of just sitting at home and rotting. So yeah, I do ask myself that a lot though, like, oh, should I go and work at the gameplay? But to me, if this gets done, I'm gonna be really happy. So anyway, I gotta figure out what I'm doing with this combo box. All right, so what we need to do is display. Okay, so each of these, it might be a bit tricky doing this, because I think I've done it in a little bit weird, in a little kind of weird sort of way, where I can't actually access the drop down from this widget, because it's in this slot. I don't know if you can you make slots public? I have no idea. Guess not. Well, that's gonna be interesting. Unless... because current train of thought is thinking I put all this stuff in the overall graphical, but I'm gonna have the same problem as I did earlier, where it's all just bunched together, which I don't want to do. I need to make some kind of reference to the... Actually, wait. No, hold on. Oh, that is a variable. Okay, let me go check the combo box. Well, it's a variable, but you can't really change its scope, which is annoying. So, how am I going to do that? Let me just check the chat. Oh, cool. Yeah, for the guys who's catching me live for the first time, thanks for joining. Let me just see. So yeah, cool. Cries and Dill. Yeah, yeah, time zones. Those are weird. I have to figure out a better schedule. That's kind of because I think the best thing for you guys would be for me to get up at like 7 in the morning and do a stream. I'm a very late sleeper though, because I tend to stay up like really late, like till 3. So what I'd like to do is maybe fix that so I wake up at a reasonable time, and then maybe I could do some nice conveniently timed streams. But we'll see how we do. All right. So let's have a look here at the code and figure out what's going on. Cause yeah, maybe this wasn't a good idea doing it this way. Cause I don't want to have to populate all these, and cause what I don't want to do is put in all the drop downs on this blueprint and put all the functionality in here, because it's just gonna not be fun. All I want to do is get an index of the embedded drop downs for each of these. But maybe hold on. Let me try something. Maybe I can. Maybe I want to see if I can cast to it at least. Cast to widget blueprint drop down. Oh, combo box. Oh, maybe I was searching drop down because it's actually called a combo box. Maybe that's why. Objects. Start with anti-aliasing. Okay, hey, maybe this will return something. Let's have a go. Let's just print and just test it, see if it actually does return a drop down. I mean, it should logically, but you never know. So it's, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it won't. So if it does return a drop down, let's say, hey, we returned a drop down, and if we didn't return one, it's gonna say, oh no. Let's give it a try. All right, well, oh, okay, it's already giving us a warning, but let's just go and try it for ourselves. Okay, oh wait, I'm doing the wrong thing. Okay, it returns oh no, which means it ain't gonna work. Let me do a bit of Googling. How to cast to a widget in a widget slot. That's a very specific question, but let's have a look if anyone's got any insight. Get child. Hey, that might be our solution. Get child. Oh, come on. What does this guy do? Oh, it doesn't let him do that. Oh, maybe we have to get. Wait, hold on. What is this store then? So it's not a canvas panel. It's like a cast. Let me search just child and see. Or maybe we don't do a cast. Maybe we just go child. Yes, child. Oh, come on. Has child. Hey, well maybe that works. Maybe not. Maybe we need a cast to panel, or oh, hey, we actually can get the variable after all. Oh, hallelujah. Okay, well let's check if this does work. Let's just print the value of the combo box and see if it actually, we should be able to get value. Get selected option. Yeah, okay, let's try this. So what should happen is when we change that overall graphical quality, when we open it, it should print out the name of the anti-aliasing. It should print out widget blueprint combo box. Or no, it should print out the selected option. So let's have a go and see what happens. Okay, so very high. Let's change that to low. Okay, that works. Thank goodness. Cool. All right, so what we should be able to do is... Oh, dear me. Okay, so we're going to have to copy and paste this a bit, by the looks of it. Because the way I did it before, I had all this. So, ooh, it's going to be fun. So we have to go to each and every one of these and get... Unless... Can you drag multiple into this? Or no, I don't think you can. Or, hey, can I just plug it in directly? Hey, that's even better. Maybe this will just do the trick. Let's compile it and see if it shows a warning. Hey, okay, awesome. So we just have to do this instead. Okay, that's a lot easier. That's a lot easier to manage. So let's copy and... Actually, yeah, let's start from... I'm gonna do it in order of how they display. So view distance. What's that variable called? Widget per combo box string. So you want to get the combo box. Okay, so you can get the variable after all. That's awesome. Widget blueprint copy. So I just have to copy and paste that text into the search each time, hopefully. So what comes after view distance? Let me go check my anti-aliasing. Oh yeah, here we go. So view distance, anti-aliasing, post-processing. And done. Excuse me. Excuse me. What comes after that? Motion blur, which doesn't have a combo box, but we'll do that in a minute. Shadow quality. Texture quality. I can see some chat going on here. What do we got? Why does this repeat itself? If you're referring to this bit of code, you'll see why in a moment. David, I wholeheartedly agree with your comment. A skill of the developer isn't the coding, but it's knowing how to Google. Definitely. Like, you'd be astonished by the amount of people I actually have come to me asking things. And I don't know if people notice, but I'm actually a person, not Google. And the only reason I know anything is because of Google. So, yeah, Googling is a skill, I'll say. Cool. All right, so what comes after texture quality? Effects quality. All right, so for those that are a little confused on what's happening, honestly, I'm not great at explaining things, I don't think, but you'll see what happens. I think the best way to explain it is just to show you what happens when it works, and hopefully it'll all make sense. Widget blueprint. I don't want a combo box. Oh no, I do. Yeah, because that actually does use a combo box. All right, now I'm about to do something really cool. I actually didn't know this until a few days ago, but in my last live streams, I spent a lot of time straightening out these nodes. Turns out there's a keyboard shortcut for it this whole time. If you go and select all these, and if you want to align them to one side, you can just press Shift D, and it just aligns. And the amount of time I've wasted on right-clicking and going alignment, it just makes me cry. So if that's something you guys do, there are keyboard shortcuts for it. It actually does tell you right on those options. So I kind of just missed that this whole time. So the straighten connections button is actually just mapped to Q. So if I select all these and press Q, it just straightens them all. And yeah, so that exists, and that made me really happy to know. It also made me really sad because I spent a lot of time straightening my old blueprints. So hey, the more you know, the more you know. Yeah, cries in wasted time. Yeah, dude. Ugh. It was a godsend, and it's so good because check this out, right? Let's say I wanted to align these two to one side. Press Shift D, it'll align it to the right. If I press Shift A, it aligns it to the left. If I press Shift W, it aligns it to the top. Shift S, it aligns to the bottom. And if I press Q, if they're connected, it'll straighten, and it's just epic. So, yeah, there you go. More you know. Alright, so what I want to do next is plug all these into this. So I might have to make some room for that. So I'll go ahead and straighten all these once I've set it up. And watch this. So this is going to look kind of messy, but watch this. I'm going to plug them all in. And, oh, I need one more. Oh wait, I don't need motion blur actually, because that's independent of graphics quality. So I just gotta plug that. Oh wait, what have I... Hold up. Okay. So, and if I wanted to be extra straight with these, I can just press Q and then boom, straightened instantly. So, there you go. There's something cool. Alright, so I might drag these over here and align them to that. So, I mean, let's just try it, because most of this code I'd written a while ago, so it should just kind of do its thing, hopefully. So if I go and change this graphics quality preset to something else, okay, it didn't work. Shit. Oh, I know why. We didn't connect the... Okay, let's try it now. Oh no. What's happened? Resolution scale. So I just gotta clean up this reference, and we should be good. Alright, well let's... Okay, well, no errors, let's see what happens. So, we should be able to click change very high to low, and it'll change all the other drop downs to low. And hey, what do you know? It works. That's great. And you see it also changes the resolution scale, so that's pretty awesome. So if I go and change this to high, it'll change all these. Like, just watch what happens. Like, I'll full screen it so you guys can see that a bit better. So check this out. I go and change this to low, it'll change this to low. Go change this to medium, it'll change this to medium. Go change it to high, it'll change this to high. If I go to very high, it's very high. And the only thing next is this custom option. Now, when you click custom here, it shouldn't do anything, and that's fine. But we need it so that if any of these do change, it'll go and change this one to custom. So that's the next thing. There's also a little problem. I don't know if it'll still happen, but I was having an issue where the resolution scale wouldn't do it properly for some weird reason. So I'm gonna go and click apply. Go to... Oh, well, okay. It seems to be working. Interesting. Let's go and check just the medium. See what happens. Yeah, because it would always return a different... If I were to go back and open it, it would go back to custom for some weird reason. And because this resolution slider was broken. And maybe it still is. I don't know. Okay, it seems to be stuck on 33%. Except it's not stuck on 33% at all. Okay, that's weird. I don't know why that's happening. Because it's changing the scale, but the slider keeps showing 33%. Why? But if I change it to very high, it's still on 33%. Okay, well that's broken. We're gonna fix that up. Ah, wait. Maybe that's because I'm using this, which is now... Because I had this node, which I've made redundant now. So I'm gonna just... 87. 71. Because, yeah, I'll explain why that's redundant a little bit later, because basically, yeah, sliders on a scale from 0 to 1, I changed my sliders to be on a scale from their actual values. So, what we should now have is... Oh, it still sets to 33. What the frick? Oh. Maybe... Oh, okay. Maybe that's why. Let's try that now. Okay, well that's now working. Accept. Oh yeah, it is. Thank hallelujah. So that's now adjusting to the right percentage. Because basically, most games have this thing where it's like, if you set it to low, it'll change the resolution scale as well. To something like 50%. So it just runs better. So it's not at a lower resolution technically, but the 3D part is running at a downscale resolution, but the actual UI is still the same, and it's just for a performance thing. And if I wanted to be extra low graphics, I can go ahead and change this to I'll disable motion blur. It's nice and... Oh, wait. Why is that not working now? No. Please work. Okay, well, motion blur is broken. Why? Wait a sec. Wait a second. Oh. Because I don't touch motion blur here. Oh, I know why. It's because it's not actually... Wait. I don't know. I have a theory why, but honestly don't know. Let me go back to Windows so my screen doesn't crash. Because I want to set this to disabled, and it's not disabling. It could be because its apply and load isn't getting called. That's my theory. And it's weird because the other settings look like they are getting theirs called. Yeah, because if I go and change this to high, it'll turn the shadows back on. So the settings are getting applied and saved. It's just motion blur isn't, and I don't know why. Oh hey, is that Jaffa Cake Boys? Oh hey dude, welcome. Good to see you. Oh, someone's trying to post a message and it's not getting accepted. Let me enable that. Oh yeah, no problem, Blue. Yeah, I understand that a lot of people may not, because we're all different. We all have different perspectives. That was a really great question though, because honestly, I do ask myself that a lot. So I'm glad you found the answer helpful, or insightful in any way, because yeah, I normally don't talk about it in the devlogs, because I kind of just like doing things instead of talking about things, but on the live streams, of course, it's a bit different. So yeah, glad you found that insightful. As for the UI, actually, yeah, so someone's left a suggestion about the actual settings, having an OK button instead of an apply button. There's a reason I do it this way, and there's a reason why the apply button is only going to be on the graphical settings and nothing else. And the reason for that is, in most games, you might notice this actually, where every settings menu, like controls or volume, it'll have like a back button and maybe a reset button, but it automatically applies when you change the setting, which I can do. The reason I'm not doing that with these, because it'd be really simple. All I have to do is say, hey, when this value changes, run the apply function, which is very easy. But I'm not doing this for graphical because these settings do change properties of the hardware, or sorry, they do in some cases interact with hardware. So resolution will interact with a graphics device and change its resolution, and you'll often find that people, when they change these things, some of the settings don't actually apply instantly anyway. Like, I think Unreal mostly does, except when you do change things like the quality, it sometimes has to rebuild the lighting. I'm not sure if that's just an edited thing or not, but sometimes like texture quality, you have to go back and relaunch the game to do. And usually in those sorts of cases, you want an apply button to make sure that that's the setting you want, especially with resolution and screen mode, because let's say you change the resolution and you click, and it just, with the minute you change it and click it, it'll change. And let's say it's something that doesn't actually display and you just get a black screen. That's not very good, because now you can't go back. So usually they do an apply thing, and then when you click apply, it'll then test the setting and ask, hey, are you sure you want to apply it like this? If you don't respond in 10 seconds, we'll revert back unless you press OK. So something like that. So I'm planning to add something like that in, which will be really easy, because it's literally like one of those, like an alert prompt that'll come up. I've already got a template set up for that I made a while back, where it's got, buttons and everything. So I'll just have to put that in. But yeah, the convention is you do have a separate apply button for these graphical settings, mostly because they are very resource heavy to change too. Like if I was to click low and click apply, like, I don't know if you guys see it, but it does actually take, it like lags a bit when you change the graphics quality. Like right there, it like takes a few seconds. So if let's say you're going in and changing these like this, like really quickly, right? You might crash the game. So that's probably another reason why. But it's just the convention is normally why I do it. So hopefully that answers your question or your suggestion. But for the other settings, like when I have an audio tab of volume settings, you'll just be able to change them and they'll just apply immediately. Because those aren't resource heavy to change. The game won't freeze if you try and change them, so yeah. Yeah, I should probably rename, well, I don't know, because having it back or cancel, usually I like using cancel, but actually, yeah, back would be more appropriate in this case. Because then it'll come up with a prompt saying, if there are discarded changes, do you want to apply them? But if they are already saved, yeah, so I might go and rename that quickly at the moment. Thanks for that suggestion. Back. Oh, let me, there we go. Pretty easy fix. Yeah, but as for an apply button, I'm going to keep that there for the reasons I explained. So yeah. Oh, thanks. Glad that you guys like these streams. Thanks for the feedback. I'm just reading Blue's question. How do I feel about dynamic resolutions / textures? I'm assuming you mean like if the game detects it's running at a lower frame rate, it'll adaptively change the render scale. If Unreal already has I think Unreal does have a feature for it. I'm actually not certain, but I do remember reading somewhere that it has an auto thing for that. So if that is the case, I'll put it in because it should be really easy. Luckily though, because it's all based on this resolution scale, at least from what I've seen in most games, which is for some reason not applying, which is weird. Well, I think I might have found another problem. But yeah, essentially, yeah, so if it's at 50%, like let's say you're running at a game and let's say the frame rate drops. If it was an adaptive resolution, it would just automatically change this slider basically based on the FPS. So it's basically just I've already got it implemented to an extent. It's just not dynamic, but it exists. So maybe. It should be too hard, but if there isn't a thing for it, I might leave that off for later. But yeah, am I gonna keep motion blur within the game, or am I gonna remove it? It's gonna be in the game, but it's gonna be a set, like it is a setting currently. It just doesn't seem to work at the present. It was working 5 minutes ago, but yeah. As for what the default will be, I don't know. Whatever the majority of the vote is, but it's gonna just be a little feature that you can turn off or on if you want. Because I know, like me, I don't mind motion blur that much. It depends on what game. If it's a single player game, I love it because it feels like I'm there and it feels like I'm looking at a camera, like a GoPro attached to the character's head. But if it's a multiplayer game with high precision, you gotta be on the ball, you gotta see everything, then I wouldn't turn on motion blur in those cases. So for something like Titanfall 2, in the campaign, actually it doesn't have motion blur. Well, it's something like Crysis, I tend to have it turned on because I don't play the multiplayer on that game. But if it's like Fortnite or Apex or anything multiplayer, then I usually leave it disabled for that reason. So I'd hope that, well, I'd imagine people that are going to be playing this have that same preference maybe. Or even if they do or don't, they can change it. So, yeah. To answer your question, MC Bros, for all the settings, are they pre-built or did I have to make them myself? Yes and no. Some of them are pre-built, some of them I did have to make myself. Most of the graphics settings are pre-built. I did have to add a few extra ones, but yeah, the majority of the settings I have yet to make will be custom settings. So, and I'm using a save game option or save game feature for that. Cool. Above 100% resolution scale for super sampling. I might give that a go. I'm actually not sure if Unreal lets me do that, but we'll try it. I'm sure there's a way to do it. For the moment though, I gotta finish what I was. Oh yeah, so we found a few bugs. So this this thing works where I can set the quality. However, what I need to do is have it so if one of these changes, it'll set this to custom. And if it is set to custom, it'll apply whatever's in here and not what's here, basically. Because the reason why motion blur is not working and the reason why resolution scale is not working is because when I go in here and select, because this custom, this overall graphics setting is actually telling the engine to apply this preset. So it's actually ignoring all these. So we want it to do that normally, unless we change one of these. Then we want it to ignore this setting and go off these ones. So there should be an easy way to do it, I think. What we need to do is check the scalability level. Now, before we set the scalability here, let me just copy and paste that comment somewhere else and get rid of this bubble. So what has to happen? Before this happens, so this is Unreal's node that tells it, hey, set the graphics quality. Before this happens, we need to actually check, hey, is this in the range of whatever? And if it isn't, then ignore it. And, God, I should probably explain that better, but I'll just show you. I'm probably a little quick to explain because I'm also kind of hungry because I haven't really eaten anything, and that's, I don't know. I didn't think I'd be this hungry, but what do you know? Maybe, yeah, next time I should eat. Anyway, so I gotta check if it's in range. So I can kind of just copy this, and I can press Q to straighten. Thank goodness. That keybind is a lifesaver. And it checks, hey, if it's, the selected option is currently, actually, we can just use this return value, I think. If it's, or no, we can actually just plug that in here. So if this value is in between 0 and 3, so if it's anything but the custom, so if it's this, this, or this, then it'll do its normal thing. But if it's this, it won't, because that's what we want. So I'm gonna copy and paste this again, plug that in here, and we should just, yeah, we should just be able to do something with it, I guess. Oh, we need to do a branch. So let's branch this. So condition, if it's true, then we just run the normal thing. If it's false though, we will have to figure out how we're gonna do that. I might have an idea. Yeah, I think, you know, I think I know exactly what we'll do. We're gonna recycle this. So that should just kind of go through all of the sub settings and apply them. So that's the idea. So I'm gonna leave that over here for the moment, and I'm gonna copy and paste this branch. Oh, I don't want to straighten. I want to straighten these. Yeah, boy. There we go. And I want to straighten these. And at the false state, that'll be interesting. Actually, yeah, that should... What we should be able to do, actually, is just have one of these. Because the reason I have to do two of them is because of the valid check. And basically, these are both using different save game objects, and a little complicated, but I have to do it that way because, yeah, basically, if there isn't already a save game, it'll actually go and create one. So if there isn't already a file with the settings, it'll create a new one and do the right things to it. Now, yeah, so that's why I've got two of them like that. But we should just be able to have this one once and have them both branch into this, because I don't think this relies at all on the save game. So that's hooray for us. So we need to get children of... We should just be able to keep that as self, hopefully, and that should just work. But what I'll do is, because I want to make this look nice, so I'll straighten out some of these. And actually don't get children count -1. Okay, that's fine. Straighten that. Maybe move that down. Put that on that side, put that on that side. Put that on that side. Put that on there, straighten that. I get really strict with my blueprint layout, so yeah. It's gotta be neat. that's my rule. If another human can't read it, then I've done a bad job. I think that should be what everyone aims for, because especially if you're doing contract work, especially then, because that's just hell if you can't read what the other people are doing. Okay, so okay. So this needs to go around here. I'm just gonna try laying this out. I don't know if this will look great, but we'll see. So let's just give that a go. Put that over here. Now, I can't honestly remember what this was for. Actually, yeah, that should be fine. Let's move that up a little. And, okay, well that should all just kind of, well, I'm not gonna say it should work, because it never does, but let's try it. Let's, oh, well, hey, what, okay, we got a problem. Get child ain't working. We need a reference to something. We need a get child. Oh, why can't we do that? Can we get this one's panel? Maybe I can get a self-reference and plug this in? Oh, I guess not. How do we get panel? None of these are my... Maybe, do I have to make it a... I don't want to make it a variable. Maybe I have to. Oh, you can't make it a variable because it's the object. Why can't I get its children? Maybe it has to be... Maybe I have to make this thing. Panel, yeah, I think it might be the vertical box. So let's just make that I didn't want to make it a variable, but we'll do it. Drag, get vertical box, drag that. Actually, how did I do it on the... Oh, it was... Okay, yeah, so I guess it has to be that. Oh, yeah, because not every type of panel can have children. I remember. That makes sense. Because some specific types of panels say, no children here. And, yeah. So we should just be able to... Well, don't get your hopes up. Let's just run it, see what problems we get. So I should be able to set this, and it'll all just do its thing. Yep. Now, if I go and change this to disabled... Oh, wait. That's not what I coded. I coded it instead to set custom this way. And, yeah, let's give that a go. Alright. Okay, well no. Let's try this. I don't know if that worked. So, if all of it looks crap, but it's at full resolution and has motion blur, then I know it works. And it doesn't. So it still thinks we're on very high. Alright, that's a problem. Maybe it's because... Gets the child count. Why is that not doing that? Because what it should be doing is saving whatever's currently selected, right? Oh. Huh. No. Wait, no. What, maybe I'm doing something here. Oh no, maybe down here I'm doing something. Yeah, because this is like when it changes, If it's in that range, get all of the things, get the option and set it. So that's where it actually sets the new option. So it doesn't do anything up here. It only sets the first one, which I find strange. Because yeah, that's not happening, which is good. Because you see how if I change it and I put custom, it doesn't change these, which is good, but it's when it actually goes to apply, it acts like nothing's. It acts like it's doing that, and I don't know why. So that's I don't know why. Why oh why? So if we go back and load it, it'll change it all back to very high. But it sets it so it knows that it's custom. At least that will load. So it loads back that it's, hey, it's the custom thing. Yeah, it loads that fine, but it's not doing these. And it shouldn't be touching those at all, really. They should all be loading on their own accord. At least, so I thought. Because when they all load, because each of them knows what, each of them will automatically load when they're spawned, meaning that they're loading, unless this is setting. Maybe I'll unplug this and just goes directly to that, so it doesn't set the option at all. I just want to see what happens. Oh no, that won't do anything. Okay, well this does need to happen then. But what? I was trying to. Oh no, it was down here. I was going to stop it from doing, I think. So it won't touch those drop downs now. Oh, that's weird. Oh, because it's ignoring them at the moment. But if I go into custom and set it there, it should just put it all on very high. Okay, now if I go and change these all to low, it should make the game look horrible. And it doesn't. Okay, well then what's going on? It must be that, it must be this. It must be applying this still. That must be what's happening. So maybe that branch we did isn't actually doing anything. Oh, it's because we need to do this before that. Okay, that's why it wasn't working. My bad. Well, hey, at least we know. Okay, so let's unplug a few of these. And let's move these back here, maybe? Or not. Maybe we'll get rid of these for the moment. So what we want, I'm gonna break all this. So these we take out. This happens, these set selected should happen after the check. And then it'll know what to do. So, just when to do it. Well, okay, so we need to actually get the, okay, so we just drag this out a bit. So we'll take all this. And just, so we'll just take this and drag it out here. Doesn't look great at the moment, but bear with me. Maybe we'll move it a bit closer, so this is all lined up. So it only selects it when it's actually confirmed that, okay, this is the right one. And then take those. If you guys, I don't know if you guys can hear that, that's just my computer fan going a bit crazy. Don't worry about it. It's probably just dust. I hope it's just dust. It is just dust, it's fine. just seeing who's joined the chat. See who's hanging around. Oh, Julia's here. Hello. I remember you. You're doing that cool plant game. Thanks for joining. Okay, back to what this was. So yeah, we should just be able to plug that in. Should it? Yeah. Keyword here is should. Hold on. What are all these redirectors doing? Okay, that goes in here, and then this goes up. Oh no. Can I get? Yeah. Okay, you go there. All right. So it'll get value, check if it's in range first, and then set the selected option. So that's what we should be doing. Let's give that a go. Except we need a false state, and I think I know what to do for that. Except it's not actually, the true state is not happening. Oh no, it is. Okay, good. Let's check on all the presets just to make double sure. Okay, so all the presets work. So what we should now be able to do is set this to custom and set this to whatever the hell we want. And it should work. So what I'd like it to look like is everything on low, except with motion blur and full render resolution. And that's still not working. And it should, because these aren't happening now. I don't know why. Apply. Is it? Oh, I'm not doing a check in the apply. That's okay. I also know another problem. We didn't touch this part yet, which we need to do. So when it's loading, if it's in range, if it's false, it's gonna set selected option again. Okay, I might have to space this out a bit because it's getting a little cluttered. Okay, it's not. I know why it's not working for those that are asking. It's because when we apply it, because okay, so here's the deal, right? Let me just run it. So high graphics preset at the moment, but okay. So this is what we need to do is in the false state. This needs to go to custom, and then the problem is if I go and set these. Right? If I hit apply, it's still applying, it's not actually considering, it's not applying these ones at all, it's applying this one. And because there's no state for what happens if it's, because this is on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if it's on level 5, it doesn't care because it's got no check. It just sets it to 5. And I think Unreal actually does have a quality preset for 5. Yeah, it does. Yeah, see how it's actually had it set to cinematic. So it's actually still not doing anything, which means we need to put this into the apply function too. But I'm doing it in load because it does a little, yeah, well let's firstly, let me just clean up the nodes a bit because I'm getting a little confused, as you guys might be as well. So I'm gonna space these out and give these a bit of room to breathe because this is looking just not great. So I'm gonna move those up. Just so I have some room. I might have to adjust some of the spacing too. So I'll move these around. All right, so that's there. I'm gonna align them. Put this back. What else? This, gotta drag this out a bit. Oh, no. Yeah. Oh, no. Okay. Maybe I should move this up. So I'm gonna move that. Oh, god damn it. So this is now the. I swear it's like I have like a cycle. It's like the cycle is do a bit of dev, clean up blueprint, do dev, clean up blueprint. That's sort of that's my workflow. Okay, that looks better. Now we still have a problem, and that is I'll go ahead and put this here, put that there, get rid of, I'll straighten this so that looks much better, and this is a problem too. This needs... Oh, all this needs to come a bit lower to fit this in. And it all needs to be straight. And another problem. That... Oh god, I'm getting hungry. I'll probably wrap up soon. This will be a shorter one than normal. Yeah, I'm guessing we're gonna have a little discussion by the looks of it about blueprints versus C++. I don't know if people have... I've seen this in previous live streams and on my comments, where there's like... I like to call them the C++ guardians, and it's basically just a bunch of people that really like the old-fashioned way of coding with C++, and they like writing it out in text. And that's great, like it's very powerful, you get a lot of control, but some people don't want that amount of control, or aren't good enough for that amount of control. But luckily, people like Epic Games care about people like us and say, hey, we get that you're not like a heavy programmer, so we're gonna give you a bunch of these nodes that we've already programmed for you so you can use to make your game. Now, a lot of people argue, oh, it's opening the floodgate for anyone to make a game. That's a good thing, because then people like me can do it. Most of these like C++ guardians might say it's a bad thing, because now they have a lot more people to compete with. And a lot of the times they say that because it means they're probably insecure about their own ability, and it's like, oh, now all of these kids are just starting to make games. Back in 1950 or whatever, we couldn't just hop on Unreal and do that. You know, oh, these kids have it so easy. It's like that kind of complex, I find. And I mean, yeah, you know, things change. It's not what it was 10 years ago. And I find that's usually what goes through the heads of a lot of these people. I know, because I know a fair few of them at where I used to teach and people I used to study with. They'd instead of actually developing and spending class time productively, they would go and pick fights with people and say, you're not a real programmer because you use blueprints or something like that. Meanwhile, they haven't made shit. So that's my experience with this argument, at least. However, I'm not saying in any way that blueprints is better than C++. At least on a technical standpoint, it absolutely isn't as powerful, and it's absolutely not going to run as fast. I totally understand it. It is, though, a convenience, and that's better for me. So, in my definition of better, it fits the criteria. But someone else who has a very in-depth background in programming might have a different definition of better, and their version of better is control, flexibility, or, you know, optimized performance, that sort of thing. And in that case, I agree, yes, it's better for people that want that. I'm not these people, however. Everyone's different. They have the things that, you know, they have strengths, they have weaknesses. My weakness, I'm not a great person with syntax, just because, I mean, I could do it, but when it comes to especially the things like complex mathematics, because I'm a high school dropout, I don't do well with complex mathematics. So I do very well with visuals, design, art, and animation. And this is the closest thing there is for a person like me to do something like this. So that's sort of my view on it, I guess. But yeah, also C++ is a pretty hard language. Like, from what I've heard, I haven't learned any of it. I know C# and JavaScript, I haven't learned C++, but from what I've heard, it's one of the hardest, most complex languages. And that's a merit of sorts, because it's a hard language, but it's also one of the most powerful. It's also the one that a lot of AAA companies use, that get paid a big salary to program for these companies in that language. So I understand that, okay, yeah, maybe they shouldn't try and simplify it in its written form, because it actually kind of needs to be powerful and complex for people to use it. That's why blueprints exists, because to me, it's a good middle ground, because it's still the same principles, except it's just, you know, in visual form, and a lot of back-end work is already done. So it's perfect for people like me that want to do it. Now, I was going to say something. There's an argument I see a lot, mostly by Unity programmers, because that's what we were taught when I was studying. And it's weird, because a lot of these people that code C# in Unity will come at people doing blueprints saying it's not real. And to that case, it's the exact fucking same. Blueprints and Unity C#, it's the same level stuff. It's just one of them's in a nice graph, the other one's in a notepad document. But it's actually exactly the same. It's not programming, it's scripting. It's a different thing. A lot of people I talk to don't know the difference. I probably shouldn't know it because I'm not a programmer, but I know that I'm a scripter. I'm not a programmer, so maybe that's why I know. Yeah, I don't claim to be a programmer. I can script, I can't program. It's different. Programming is what the people that made this engine are programmers. The people that made this set scalability node that I'm clicking on, the guy who made that, that's a programmer. The person who's putting them together, scripter. It's different. So when people, especially people that have just done a year or so of Unity, C# and think they know everything, I don't know what it is. Yeah, programmers always have this god complex, I find. But not all of them, but a fair amount of them that I've met personally are like that. And to that, it's like, well, okay, yes, I'm not a real programmer, but neither are you. So go and make something and stop trying to, put me down for just trying to get some work done. So that tends to be the way I see it. Now, look, that's just from my own personal experience. I'm not accusing anyone in the chat of having a god complex, but maybe some of you can relate. I sure as hell have seen that a lot. Not even online, just in person from people I've met. Like, yeah, and that's why I don't hang out with a lot of people, because it's just like, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. It doesn't matter which language is better. It's the game that matters. That's at least what I believe, but hopefully there's people that agree. Some people won't, and just let them do their thing. If they want to go and learn assembly language, how to make their own, because I mean, to me, it's a bit of a slippery slope. If you wanted to be a real programmer, you'd make it yourself. It's like, okay, then by that logic, you're coding in a work environment that you didn't make. So if you're such a real programmer, are you going to go and make your own Visual Studio? Are you going to go and make your own Windows 10 to run that on? Are you going to go build your own custom PC to run that on? And it's just like a slippery slope of wanting to have it all done yourself. It's like, it's not worth it. It's like, if you want to do that, fine. It's just, we're living in 2019. You kind of don't have to do that. But it depends on if that's what you care about, then sure. But not everyone cares about how it's made all the time. And I say that in like a broad sense, like in terms of the language. Some people only care about just making the game. And I'm a bit of I don't know, I'd say I'm a bit more inclined towards that than how it's done. But at the same time, when it comes to what I'm doing at the moment with my blueprints, I like it being done right for the extent that blueprints allow me to. So I try to keep it at a bit of a balance. And that's just how I roll, at least. But yeah, and yeah, like, of course, all these guys, they have to make their own engine, right? Even though they don't have to, but they choose to because they're a real programmer, and somehow it's going to make the game immensely better. It's going to make, yeah, it's a slippery slope argument. The further down the rabbit hole you go, the more work you'll end up having to do before you actually end up making the damn game. So yeah, I'm not a fan of that sort of thinking. It's just kind of toxic, and it kind of stifles productivity, like, to a really dangerous extent, because you end up spending maybe 2 years building an engine, and then you've kind of forgot about the game you were trying to do, and now you don't really believe in the idea anymore because you're jaded and cynical because you spent so long building this engine while everyone else around you has been out doing things. Like, that's to me where I see that. That's just where I see it going, hypothetically. I can relate to that sort of thinking because I sometimes used to think like that. But at the end of the day, just, yeah. If making games is what you care about, just do it at any means possible. If there's a tool because someday there's going to be a tool where you just click a button, and there's going to be the guardians of code there saying, that's not real game dev. But maybe someone makes something really cool with it and does something creative with it. And they're going to undermine that and say, well, that wasn't real effort, and, who knows. I think there's always a new level of creativity to be had with every new convenience. That's just my opinion on it, at least. But anyway, so I've cleaned these how long did I spend cleaning these up? Okay, so these are all nice and clean, I think. Now, we need to put them here. So I'm going to take this comment bubble out, just so that yeah, because comment bubbles can get annoying when you're editing the things inside of them. So I'm going to move all of this out of the way and focus on this. So I need to move this down. And I know I'm going to have to move around some of these. So let me just think for a moment. I'm going to put on maybe some different tunes because I've had this on for a while. Something that won't get the channel copy striked. Maybe some good old background music. Yeah, all right. I code my food in assembly like a real coder. Great comment. Oh yeah. So I don't know when I'm gonna finish the stream, to be honest. Probably until I get. Actually, what's the time? I'll probably finish before 5. That's gonna be my thing, because I'm gonna have to go later on today. But yeah. Well, let's just see what progress you make. What am I doing? Okay. Wait, that's what I want to copy. So I want to take this, copy it, and put it here. Now I gotta fit this in the right spot so I don't screw it. So before it sets selected option, which it doesn't do here actually. Wait, so set scalability. Okay, so I remember. So what we got to do, it sets the scalability. It has to set it to the actual index only if it's in that range, and if it isn't, it sets it to the 4th option. So before all this happens, we do our magic. Now it's gonna look messy at the moment, but I will clean this shit up as quick as possible. Don't you worry. And wow, yeah, this is really making me hungry. Come on, Ray, you can finish this. You can make some progress. This is still far from done. I still need to make custom keybinds and volume, and that's it. That'll be. I don't know how I'm gonna do that yet. Audio is kind of tricky. I'm not exactly sure how audio works in Unreal, so I'm gonna be researching that. And once I've learnt how to do it and have it work on something, then I'll probably live stream the rest of that next week and see where we go. So if you want to stick around for that, let me know. And I'd like to pick a more convenient time to stream as well. So if you guys have any suggestions on one thing that actually, before I do say that, one thing that'd be helpful is to convert the time to my UTC plus 11, because that's where I am, Sydney, Australia. So if you have like a Sydney, Australia time that is convenient for you, leave that in the chat. Yeah. So if you guys have any suggestions on that, let me know. What am I doing here? Okay. Ooh. I wonder how I'm gonna. Well, let's. Hold on. How did I do that? So we gotta get the scalability. Alright, so I need to plug this here. So this should move a bit closer. That looks so bad. There's gotta be a better way. How? Oh, hold up a minute. No, I don't need to use that for that. That plugs in somewhere else. Which means this just plugs in here, that plugs in there. Maybe I'll put it up on one of these. Line that up. Alright, now we're getting somewhere. Yeah. Except this needs to travel over here. So I'll put that here. No, there's a better way. Maybe if I do it like this. Yeah. And then... Okay. And then that over here. Okay, that's looking okay. It's just, there's all this other stuff. Oh, I know. We'll do it. We'll go it over like this. Yeah, that's good. All right. I'm just reading through what you guys have to say about the blueprints. Don't feel bad about rigging it up. It's actually a great topic of discussion. Because, I don't know, there's this weird stigma around blueprints, I find. Yeah, like I said, a lot of programmers I've met, they're like the guardians of code. And they will quickly go after anyone that's doing anything that they don't agree with. That's what I find. But, yeah. Each has their place, though. Again, I'm not saying that one is better than the other, absolutely, because only Sith steals in absolutes. But yeah, each have their place. My place is with this. Yeah, it will impact performance. Yes, it will. But hey, maybe later in development, I can maybe learn the language, go back and redo it. I highly doubt, though, because, I mean... I don't think the performance is going to be that bad if I do it right. Like, if I make sure that my end of things, like, that isn't reliant on the whole Blueprint C++ stuff. Like, anything outside that, if I can make optimized, like, meshes and animations, like, if I do my best on that, I think it'll be okay. And if it still runs, like, pretty badly, then that's when I go and hire a programmer. But, yeah, seeing as, to me, the easiest option is to just do it in blueprints, because then A, saves money, B, I actually learn heaps from doing it, and C, the game gets done, I suppose. So, to me, it's in my specific scenario, it's the best option, but everyone's going to have their own thing. All right, so I think I think that's all we had to put in, I think. I hope it is. Oh, we need that false state. So if it's false, it needs to go and it needs to do this again. Which could I make that an event? That actually would be. Make this an event because I think I might just I think I can just use the exact same thing. Hopefully. Let's just try it. So if it's false, it'll just call the event. And when the event's called, it just goes through and applies everything. All right, so that should be the same deal here, which is good. So yeah, now I might have to space out these somehow. So if it's false, can this... Oh, that just fits. I might expand it just a little bit more. Let's take that. I think that should be okay. Let's move all this back a little. And this. So I should just be able to pop this little guy in here. There we go. So if it's false. All right. Well, let's just try it. See what happens. All right. Well, there's still another problem. If it's false, it needs to do that thing where it sets the right option. So I'm gonna copy. I'll just put it in the event probably because that'll be convenient. Set selection option. So index 4. And that should do it. So if it's index 4, set that actual drop down to that right one, and then do the thing. Okay, so, come on. There we go. Bingo. Let's try it. So now that custom, the overall setting should populate, which it does. It sets to custom, except we want it to be on very high in this case. Okay, so that works. Let's try it on low. Okay, that works. Now let's change this to something else. Let's see what happens. Oh wait, no, we have to do that first. Let's see if this works. So what should happen? Hey, that looks like the preset we want. So it's no shadows or anything. So it's low everything except the resolution scale is at full and motion blur is disabled. Meaning, god damn it, and okay, it applies. It doesn't load correctly, which means there's something wrong with this because it applies, does the thing it needs to. God damn. Because yeah, now when it loads back, it goes back to the low preset. I wonder if, I don't know, does it do that for all the options or just the resolution scale? So if I disable motion blur, oh no, it doesn't. Wait, does it even apply? Wait. Okay. Alright, well, okay, I don't think that's the issue. I think the problem... Okay, so, because if I press this and go back... Okay, so some settings are loading and some aren't. Okay, so that's really weird. Oh, it must have something to do with this. So, because the motion blur is not in there, so... It's loading the combo box for... It's this one's loading isn't working. So, which means... It means, let me check the branch. So, cast to the save object, get the level. If it's in the range, go ahead and set the option to whatever it should be. But if it's not in range... if it's not between... If the option isn't between... The scalability isn't between 1 and 3... Maybe... Oh, because we didn't save the scalability option. That's why, I think. At least. Oh, it's down here that we're not doing it. So what's happening is, in the apply, it's saying, alright, if it's in between 1 and 3, go ahead and do the thing. And that's great. Except it's not getting to this. Meaning, it needs to somehow. Meaning, this maybe needs to come earlier. Yeah. So this actually, I've done it, and I've done it the wrong way around again. That's why. Well, hey, at least we know. So, let me just take this out carefully so I don't break anything. So these need to come out, and then I'll just get rid of these for the moment. Okay. So this needs to all go back here, I think. And then we need to put this after the save actually happens. Oh wait, I actually already had a branch that I completely forgot about. That was already there. What? Where did I put that in? Oh, that must have been a few days ago. I don't remember putting that in at all. Well, alright. Alright. What? I don't know. Yeah, see, this happens a lot in programming where you code something and you forget you've done it and then you can't remember why it's there. So I'm a little bamboozled at the moment. Why the okay, well, so it's already doing a check if something's in range, and if it's true, and if it's... oh, okay. Well, I guess that won't work anymore because of that new way we've set it up. So I'm going to get rid of it, and we'll just redo it again. Just so that just because we'll understand what we're doing better this time. Alright, so... oh wait, that still needs to be over there. So we're gonna move that forward a little bit more and put that up here. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I don't know if it's the hunger or I'm just sleepy. I'm kind of dozing off a bit. Okay. So that needs to go there. That needs to go there. That needs to go there. And this needs to go here. That needs to go there. That needs to go here. Needs to go here. All right. I think I'm on the ball. Except, wait. Okay. Except these don't look straight, and it's annoying the shit out of me. There we go. Okay, whatever. I'll straighten it later. Well, that looks okay. It's just now, the only thing is that part, this bit here. So if it's true, go ahead and do the thing, which it will do. And then if it's false, except, oh wait, we need to get that value still. Yeah, because something seemed off, because I'm like, wait a minute. I'm not actually reading from the scalability level, I'm reading from the slider, and I'm like, wait, something ain't right, and now I know what it is. So we just need to put that there. And then if it's false, we call this baby. That's a tight fit. We'll fix that later, I think. Okay, no, that's not doing anything. So actually, yeah, we could just do that. Yeah. All right. Well, let's see how that fares. So custom. Let's turn up that. All right. Let's go back. Oh, hey, okay, well that's good. So it loads custom and it loads whatever I actually had in there. So I'm gonna turn a few specific things. So I'm gonna turn these 3 up to very high and leave everything else low. Apply it, go back, and it works. Awesome. So now we can have a custom preset, and then we should be able to use this as normal too. Awesome, so we can set it all to very high with a single button click. So that's great. And it should ignore motion blur. And that we can just set whenever, however we want. So that's good. Except it's not, wait. God damn. Enabled. Let's see if that, okay, motion blur is broken again. Oh, I might know why. It's because, no, I don't know why now, but whatever. Let's set a different preset. Let's go to low. Cool. And then if we change any one of these, it should use a custom. Okay, so the only thing left is fixing motion blur somehow. Oh, okay, it's working again. That's really weird. I don't know why it did that. Maybe on any of the other presets it's set. Oh, what the frick? Okay. Well, Interesting. Maybe it's because it's on custom. Okay, well, motion blur works now. Sure. I don't... Yeah. Okay, sure, fine. Alright, so I guess the only thing left is... I want it, because what I've been doing to test this, I have to go and set this to custom every time. What I'd like to do is have it so that if I have it on any option, I can just change one of these and it'll go and change this to custom. Which, to do that, it means... Because I think I tried doing that on my old one and it didn't work. So I might just quickly spend, like... And I'm actually going to try and give a realistic estimate. I'm going to try and spend the last 15 minutes to just figure that out, and then we'll probably call it an afternoon or whatever time it is in your time zone. Oh yeah, I might have had it turned off. I'm just reading through your feedback. Give the reset button a double check thing, so you can't just click in the same spot. I'm assuming you mean when I click reset, it'll come up with a pop-up. I'm still planning on doing that. Haven't gotten around to it yet, but actually I had a version of it, but I haven't activated it in here yet, so it'll be coming. Alright, so I have to have it so that when these change to anything else, it'll change that to custom. Alright, so what we'll need to do is, because I think all of these have events, which is good, so I can go ahead, so you see how in each of these drop downs there's an event for selection changed and opening? So if selection changed, we want to add an event. And we want this to be on every setting, except motion blur, because that's going to be independent of the preset. So I'm going to do it in order of how they're shown. So view, distance, anti-aliasing, post-processing. I might put on some more interesting music for the last bit of the stream. I like guitar music sometimes. What comes after post-processing? Motion blur. Oh, we don't need that one, so... Shadow quality. Texture quality. Effects quality. Foliage quality. I think that's all of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, cool. At least I think that's all of them. Oh, resolution scale. I didn't have that one yet. On value changed. Alright. So, we might group these together just to make them all, because they're all going to do the same thing, at least I think they will. So if any one of them is changed, and if the other ones... Because the thing is, I tried doing this a while back, and it didn't work because I had a check where it would check each time they were changed if the value was like... I'll show you. I'll show you the old... It looked like this, and basically it said, when any one of these change, set the graphical combo box to option 4, which had a few issues, because anything you change, it always go to option 4, which isn't what we want. So we kind of have to do a check that the other settings... Because if we change this... Actually, there was another problem, because if you were to go in and change this, because all of these will now call that same event, it'll kind of just break itself. So we got to do something where, if it's being changed, it'd be great to have a thing where if it's being changed by us doing it and not by this. I'm sure there's a way to distinguish that, but I'll figure that out later. So if it gets changed and the other ones in the array aren't the same, then we change the top one to custom. So I had a little... I'll get my old piece of code. Oh no, that didn't. Actually, what we need that, something like this. Got to check these. So we'll make this array again, and we'll do that for loop again. And I'll make a little exec pin, because it needs to just basically go through and say, hey, are all of these equal to the same thing? Because if they are, after we've changed it, then we know that it's us doing it from here. But if it's anything else, then we know it's probably we want a custom one. and it'll only save it properly when custom is active in the drop down. So that's the idea. So I'm gonna move this over here and put all these in here and see how we go. So yeah. The idea is though, because hopefully this is like, I think this is the only thing I need to do actually for the graphics settings, and then yeah, hopefully maybe later in the week or over the weekend or next week I'll do another stream doing audio, and that'll be fun because I really want to get that out of the way and done, because it should be a lot less complex than this because there aren't as many settings. So yeah, that's the idea. Alright, well I was just reading the chat there quickly. If I end up pausing and looking down, it's just me reading the chat. Let's do this. So if any of these, so this event is called when any of these get changed. So if this option changes, or if any one of these changes, it'll call this event, and it has to do a check. It'll get all of them, the array, okay, how are we gonna check if they're all the same? That's a great question. Get selected option, and we want to get index. Get option at index? No. Get option count? No. There should be one for getting the index. I can't remember the name of it. Find option at index. Find option, oh no, that's not it. Find option index. Oh, actually, no, we need to use both of them. So we plug that in here and then do it like that. So it gets the current option and the index of it, because I know we'll need that for something. But how do we check if it's all the same? Maybe. How do you check if it's the same? Maybe an equals thing. In a branch, because we're gonna have to. It's a binary thing, really. Is it the same or is it not? So I'd imagine it'll do something like that, but there's still something weird. How are we gonna do it? Oh, what music is that? This is Japanese composer Yutaka Hirosaka. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but that's how I think it's pronounced. He's a guitarist. His music's pretty chill, so I just put it on. Because yeah, we want to check it if any of these do get changed. If its value is different than the others, we want it to then do something. If the value is different than all the others. So if one of these has a different index than the rest. So I don't know if it's easy to check for that or to check if they're all equal the same. Is there a way, like, okay, so I'm going to try and word it in English. How to check if every item in an array is equal, if every value of a variable in an array is the same. That's kind of, I think, what I'm after. Let me type that into Google. So check if all values in array are equal. Not JavaScript. Blueprint. Oh, maybe. Yeah, Blueprint. Let's just see what people do. All right. If array has same or multiple values, contains. Didn't know this was a thing. Let's have a look. Contains item. Filter takes an array of actor. Okay, no. Find, get, insert, last index, length, remove. No. Maybe this contains. That's got my attention. I wonder if it's checking. Oh, it checks for an object, not that it's a value. Well, I don't know. Let me just type contains and see what we get. Contains item. So this... Okay, that takes one of these types, so not a number. How to do it? See, yeah, the reason I used to do it, where if one of them would change, it would go to custom. That's what my old one would do. There's a problem, though, because when you change custom, these will all get called, and then it'll check this again. So basically, you know, I'll just copy this and paste it in my new one and show you. It doesn't work, long story short. So, gotta get the combo box. Put that in. So here's what happens. Oh, well, yeah, it'll show an error because I haven't plugged this in. But if I try and run it, all right, so I'll try and change this, and you see what's happening? Basically, yeah, it's kind of broken. So I don't know actually why, but every time I click it, it goes down the list of options, which is sort of weird. But if I go and change this to something. Like well, let's get this all to very high, or let's just cancel and go back. All right, so if I go and change this, if I change one of these to low, yeah, it'll change this to custom, which is good, but if I wanted to change this to anything else, it doesn't work. So it works on one way, but not the other way, which is, reason that is because these events all get called when we change the custom thing as well, so it's, yeah. So let me just think for a moment on how we might do that. Because, yeah, logically... Yeah, well, let me think. Because if we change this to low, it's going to do what we already had earlier happening. The cool thing I like, because I kind of would need to do this anyway, so I might give it a go, is a boolean getting passed through this event when they do change to say, hey, was this changed automatically or did the user do it? Let's actually try that method maybe, because that could save us. Because I need to do that anyway, because some of you may have noticed a bug where if I launch the settings menu, it makes a really loud click. And the reason it does that is because these are all, every time this changes, it'll make a click sound. And because it's happening for 10 different settings, the sounds stack. And what I'd like is a way to set the setting, but have two different modes, so that we can set it if the user's doing it, or set it automatically. And if it's set automatically, it'll help us with this option we're trying to do, and it'll also not play a sound. That's my desired outcome. So we might try that. So I'm gonna go and open the actual drop down that I've made in my components. That's not it. Combo box. Okay, so I have the events. I don't know if it'll actually let me add a bool to them or not. I'm gonna try. So I'm gonna add a boolean and we'll call this I don't know what you'd name that. Initialized, I guess, was from initialize. I guess, because we're only going to use this state when it's being initialized or set by something that's not directly the user. Except it's giving us an error because of a signature problem. And I remember something about this, and that's why I was skeptical of trying this out. Bear with me a moment. From initialize. Because, yeah, basically it's confused because I don't know why, actually. Various reasons why that could be. It's got something to do with the fact that, because this is, no, that should still work. No, what am I thinking? Yeah, big indeed. Compile. Okay, what error does it give? Doesn't match parameters of function delegate signature. I remember what this means, kind of, but I can't remember exactly, and I'm a little frustrated. Because I remember there was going to be some problem doing it this way, but it was so long ago I tried doing it that I honestly can't remember. What is this? Ungenerate widget? I don't... See, okay, because this doesn't get called anywhere else, if I remember. Or... No, oh, I think I know why. Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe I do. I think I know why. Oh, I don't think I'm gonna like this solution. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay, that works. Where was my... Oh! Okay, you're gonna hate this. I have to go in each setting now and add this little boolean, basically. I'm trying to figure out how to explain it, because honestly, I don't know how to explain it, but I kind of understand why. Basically, this gets proxied to another thing per setting, and that allows me to actually... Okay. How to explain it? You know what? I'll just do it. It'll work, and then I'm gonna stop, probably, because I can't... I'm just so tired. Alright. Basically... Oh no, it's giving me another error. Oh god, no. Why? Basically, I know kind of why it's doing it. Except now we have a big bad error, which is not good. It was working for a second. I'm gonna give myself 2 minutes to fix this, and if I don't, then it'll be sayonara till next episode. What was I? Okay, so there's this thing, and this we can we should be able to call it. Let me like remove that property and add it again and see if it works. Okay, so as long as it's not named the exact same thing. Alright, so I have to name it. Let's just try anything else. Okay, so as long as I don't rename it, it works. This is really annoying. Why? Well, okay, that's how they want it. We'll do it that way. That's really confusing. I don't know why it doesn't let me rename the variable. But, in theory, what it should do is basically... You know what? Let's just try it. Let's just see. We might be able to already put it in here, so let's give that a go. At least I hope. So, when the selection's changed, if it's uninitialed, if it's like being set by anything else, then yeah, alright, so the only thing is we need to be able to call it in a way that tells it to, okay, there's a lot of ways we can do this. So what we need to do is a thing where, yeah, so we need a way so that when we do, okay, let me think. I don't know what I'm talking about. When any one of these is changed, hey, maybe we can still recycle this. Maybe. We need to call it and have this ticked. That's what we need somewhere. It's just where do we put it? I don't know. Maybe when selection's changed. And then it'll do like a check. And if it's true, so if it was not initialed, it'll do its normal thing. Hey, maybe this could actually work. I don't know. Maybe not. And then if it is true, it'll do nothing. Let's just try. Let's just try. I think we've gone on for a while, so we'll just probably leave it wherever we go, and I'll pick it up later. Oh, don't crash. Okay, so what I'd like to do is... okay, well, it's not doing what it should. Well, let's just save it and go back and see if it actually keeps those settings. Okay, no. Alright, well, that didn't work, but I'm onto something. So, I think that's probably... God, this looks like such a mess at the moment. I'll probably... Let's move these around so they're all kind of in... right spots. I think these bits are okay, so I'll go ahead and re-comment these. Those I think should be okay. And then we just got to clean up that last bit, because basically, yeah, it's like, yeah, we want to do a check that says, hey, how is this box being applied? Is it being applied because of the result of another thing, or is the player itself clicking on it? And it'll just depend on the context. We don't actually have to track a player input, because don't need to, because logically it's only going to change automatically if we interact it through that overall scalability slider. So basically we want it so that if it's changed as a result of this being changed, then pass that boolean through and do the thing it's supposed to and all that. But the more important than that, I'm really hungry and I should have a snack. So yeah, I think we might call it a night, or I'm gonna say night because it's starting to get dark out here now, and it's probably already dark wherever you guys are. So I reckon we all agree on night being the consensual time of day. I'm just gonna make sure that these are all right. Well, we got somewhere. These, like, I reckon we're about 90% there, having it working, and I'll probably finish it before the next stream and move on to the next thing after. So I'll show you what developments I make later on when I have that working. In the meantime, I'm going to take a break and make sure I save everything, probably. Cool. So I think that'll do it for today. I don't know is my stream still working? I got no idea. Because my YouTube's showing a problem. I don't know. Well, we're about to end it anyway. So, holy crap, I'm just looking at myself on the video. It's gotten so dark. Yeah, so that'll be it for today, I think. Thank you all so much for joining in. It was a huge pleasure to get to hang out with you guys again. I have a little channel update. 10K video has been shot. It has been edited. It is on the way. I'm just waiting on a few more things, and it'll be ready to go. I think you guys are gonna like it. It's gonna be really cool. A few surprises in there for you guys. So, God, I really want to tell you everything that happens in it, but I don't want to spoil it. So, it's coming. It's coming. It'll be there soon. I hope you guys enjoy it when it's out. In the meantime, I might do 1 or 2 live streams maybe before it's out. I'm hopeful that it'll be out sooner rather than later, but we'll see. Anyway, thank you all so much for joining in, and I guess I'll see you guys next time at a hopefully more convenient time of day. It looks like 9 o'clock for me in my time is a bit more convenient, but we'll see what happens. So thanks everybody. I'll catch you all some other time in some other universe. Bye bye.